Hey everyone! On the last video, I showed you these earrings. I took my June Blueberry Cove Bead Challenge, and today I wanted to show you a few little projects that I have finished off. So the earrings I made, and then I did this. Let me just move those out of the way. I did this, and this big long piece, the whole thing can't fit in frame, so I'll just put it like that. So yeah, I wanted to use up as many of these kind of pinky beads as I could, which I did. And it doesn't make a very good necklace, but it makes a pretty cool wrap bracelet. Let me just come out a little bit. There we go. So it makes a pretty cool little wrap bracelet, actually. I kind of like it. But as I said in the last video, I'm not really crazy about pink or pink beads or this whimsy little girly kind of thing. But somebody will probably like it. So that I finished off to complement the little earrings here. And I've been sort of toying with an idea on my native medicine website to sell some of this stuff, because I think I might have some excess. The other thing that I said I was going to show you, remember this? I am really, really close. Holy, there we go. So this I made a few videos ago, and I said I would show you the back. And there it is. I put the antler button on it. I had my husband cut an antler button, and really all I did is I sewed it on like a button. And just show you that. So I sewed that on right there, and then I just made a little cut in my hide here to fit the button, and there we go. So that's finished now. And yeah, I'm very happy with how that turned out. I'm very sorry. I don't know why my camera just seems a little weird today. All right, so that's the hide bag done. And then I mentioned I was going to be doing my cooksa on camera for you. Well, I started filming that, and it looked great, but the video itself was probably only going to end up being maybe 3 minutes long. I don't know. It was pretty crazy. So I didn't bother filming it, but here's the result of my cooksa. I am super happy with this in comparison to the original one that I was working with. So today I want to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to be using this pattern here. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but oh, I guess I will. It fits on there nicely. So I'm going to use this pattern as a repeating pattern, those two rows over and over and over again, to make a Metis Sash beaded bag. I've made 2 of these before, and they turned out gorgeous. And so let me show you what we're going to use. So we're going to need all of the traditional colors. So there is red, we got yellow in there, some blue, some green, and some white. So we've got here, this is a 10 opaque dark green right here. So that's one color. 10 opaque dark royal. And these I got from Beads and Plenty More, but these ones you can also buy from Halford Hide. I've got 10 opaque white, 10 opaque medium red. That's a nice red. Get my hands out. My light's a little strange in here today. I'm hopefully it's going to all turn out good with the light. And then I've got a 10 opaque gold yellow. So these are the 5 colors in the sash that we're going to be using. In addition to that, I've got one of these little cup buttons from the Potomac Bead Company, and it's got 2 little holes in there. Hopefully you can see that. Let me just move in a little. It's pretty. It's very pretty. I do like it. So That's going to be my clasp. And in fact, the bag that I make, the beaded bag, is going to be about this size. And where this is where the cup button's going to be. It's a really unique little project, and I'm super excited to do this on film today for you guys. Okay, so I've got my cup button. A pair of pliers can come in handy. I'm going to be using on this one, I'm going to use my size 11 short needle. To sew the bag and do the square stitch, I'm going to be using my Wildfire Red, 0.15 millimeters. So that will come in handy. And then I'll probably do some fringing on it. And again, the fringes, this is not great for doing fringe work. So I've got some, let me just turn that around, Miyuki beading thread, and this is a nylon thread, and it's a little bit thinner, but this is really, really good. In fact, I could probably sew the whole bag with this, but it's really, really good for doing fringe with. It works beautifully. So we'll be using that a little bit later on. What else? I think that's about it. You can use a ruler, and the bag is going to end up being a total of approximately 30 centimeters long, which is 12 inches, I guess. So it'll be approximately that size, maybe a little bit smaller, just depending on how it looks. Okay. So I'm going to thread up my needle, I'm going to pour some beads out, and then we're going to get started. So I'm going to be showing you a few different stitches. We're going to, on my other channel, Survival Crafts, and I'll put a link down below for the video, but I was showing how to do square stitch, freehand square stitch. So this is creating beadwork without a loom, but it produces the exact same results. And ever since I've been using square stitch in this way, I will never go back to using a loom again. I just don't think that it's necessary for me to use a loom anymore. So so I've kind of stopped using them because of square stitch and for various reasons. But on that one, I did the square stitch by putting all of the beads on for the first row that I needed. And that's fine. That's a good way of doing it, but it can also be a little bit cumbersome. So what I discovered is if I do the first 2 rows of herringbone stitch, it works even better. So so that's what we're going to do for the first 2 rows to get started. And then I will start showing you square stitch. Okay, so I'll get my little pattern to the side here. And I'm not going to keep the pattern in view. I will just simply tell you what beads I am picking up. And then you can just follow along if you want to make this along with me. Okay, I'm going to thread everything up and get myself set up, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've actually grabbed my lamp as well to try and even out the light a little bit more here. Hopefully that's a bit better. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with a herringbone stitch. Now we can put on a stop bead, and maybe that's what I'll do, and we'll leave, I don't know, 10 centimeters of 15 centimeters of a tail. So I'm going to pick up my little stop bead, and I'm going to bring that down. I got a lot of stuff I can catch on my thread on here today, so I'll probably be pretty clumsy. All right, so I'll put my stop bead on, bring it close to my tail, and then I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go away from my tail with my needle and pull through. And you can do this twice, because just doing it once, I can slide this bead around really easily. But I'll just do it once for now. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is we're going to start off with 2 of our red beads. So I'll pick up 2 red beads, and I want to slide those down because we're going to create a little bit of a ladder with this. So really we're kind of sort of getting 3 different stitches, sorry. All right, So what I'm going to do is I've got my 2 beads on there, and there's my stop bead. So that's my second bead I added on. So I'm going to come back up through the bottom of the first bead and avoid that second bead. And I'm going to just pull, and what that will do is that will set them kind of side by side in a way. There we go. So they're now sitting side by side. So I'm now going to take my needle back down through this second one. Pulling my thread out of my way. And then back up one more time through this first one. There we go. I'm going to turn my paper around a bit. Okay, so I've got my first 2 on. Now we're going to start our herringbone stitch, and I'm going to pick up 2 more red. Get things out of my way that I don't catch. Okay, so 2 more red. So I'm coming out of this first one right here. I'm going to go back down this second one. And you've seen me do this on the first video with a tubular herringbone. This is just a flat herringbone stitch, okay? All right, so I'm coming out to the bottom of this one. So I'm going to go back up the bottom of the one beside it and through the next one up. And I'm going to hold on to that and pull with my fingers. There we go. So I need another 2 red, so I'll pick those up. All right, and it's the same deal, but this time I'm not going to go back down all of them. I'm only going to go through the top one right here on this side. And I'm going to pull. And it kind of spins around in your hand for a little bit, and that's okay. So now I'm coming, oops. So I'm coming out of the bottom of this one, so it's the middle of those. I'm going to go back up these 2. And pull. Okay, so now I have 3 of them on. So the next one, I need a green on my right side and a red on my left. So I'll pick up a green and a red on my needle. And then I'm going to come down this very first one here, like this. And then back up on this side. And really that's all there is to it. So, yeah, let's continue on. So now I need a red on my right and a yellow on the left. Now these 2 rows that I am doing, oops, that's a really big yellow. Oh, those are huge. I am going to go and find some different beads because these are ginormous. Okay, so these are a little bit better. So I've switched from these ones to, these are a little bit of a paler yellow. So this is a yellow opaque and this is from Miyuki. Sometimes with these cheaper beads, like these ones, and they are cheap, the sizes are really inconsistent, so it's not a lot of fun. All right, so let's try that again. Pick up a red and a yellow. So those are better. Those are a little bit better. Oops, I'm sorry. And I'm going to go down that one. And oh, there we go. The first little bit is so hard to hold on to, but believe me, it's better than the loose kind of one with the square stitch. That's a real challenge to hold on to that one. It really is. So that's what we've got so far. So we've got on our first 3 rows, side by side are 3 reds. Then we've got green and a red, and then we've got red and yellow. Now we need a dark blue and a red. And we'll go down just the yellow and pull. Try to get them to sit right. Then we'll go back up through the red and the blue. Very nice. Okay, so the next one we need is a red and a white. And once these 2 rows are complete, you just repeat that same pattern of those 2 rows over and over and over again. And I think I might have the same problem with my whites. Okay, typically I've found actually the whites and the yellows do tend to be a whole lot bigger for some reason. Don't know why. All right, I will be back. I'm going to go and find some smaller white beads if I can. If not, I'll just have to suck it up with these ones. Okay, so I have found some, also some white, chalk white, opaque Miyuki. So hopefully those will work. Yeah, they still might be a little bigger, but we'll see. Okay, so we need to pick up a red and a white. And we're going to go down the red. Oh, catching on a lot of stuff here. Yikes. And then I'm going to come back up that blue. So I think you probably got this by now. It's not, herringbone's not hard. It's a very easy stitch, and you can always go back and rewind this if you want to see or hear instructions. So the next one is going to be a white and a red. And I'm not sure if I'm going to just kind of talk through. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm right out of frame again. This is so hard to film and stay in frame. Okay. And bead at the same time. So like I said, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to just film me doing this whole first 2 rows. Or if I might just put the pattern down in writing below, or offer the pattern, or I don't know. I'll figure that out later for anybody that wants this. Or I might decide just to do this the whole row. The only problem if I do that is that we end up then with a super long film, because this is not a quick project. It's going to take me quite a long time. But once you get the first 2 rows, it's really easy. Okay, so next I've got blue and red. So I'm going to go down the white and pull. And we'll go up the red and through the blue. So we are going to create 47 rows, which can take a little bit of time actually. So now we need a red and a yellow. Yes, these beads, these white, oops, I'm going through 2. And it doesn't matter if I go through 2. So these beads, the red, or sorry, the white and the yellow. So these other beads, the white and the yellow, are working out pretty good. They are definitely smaller than the other ones. So so they'll work out really well. So now we need a green and a red. And then 2 rows of red after that. So I got this pattern actually a very long time ago, and I would love to give credit to the lady who created this. For the life of me, I cannot find her or where she's from, or she did post the pattern on for anybody to use. So whoops, I'm not even paying attention. All right, so the lady that that posted this pattern on the internet initially, I got this a very long time ago, and she posted it for anybody to use because it's a super simple pattern. And I completely lost the original site where I found her. And I really want to give her credit for this because she's brilliant. This is a brilliant pattern, and I've used it many times. And but she posted it for people to use and to enjoy. And I would love to be able to just pass this pattern on to other people, which I probably will do anyway, because she did kind of post it for anybody to use. Okay, so I need a red and a yellow. So what I might do is, I think you got this. I think you got this figured out now. So I think what I'm probably going to do is I will finish this row off camera, because it's going to be a long one. And then I will show you how to then start on the square stitch, sort of the freehand square stitch with this. And then, and then I will work on the bag and film it periodically where I'm at, and then show you the important bits. So I've just got a few more rows to put on, 3 rows of red. So I'll pick up my 2 red. Sorry about the background noise. There's some water running at the moment, if you can hear that. So there's my 1 row. Two. And my tail out, and 3. Now, this is the one and only time I'm going to do 2 rows at a time. I'm sure you could probably herringbone this entire thing, although, in my opinion, I don't think it would turn out all that well. There's, because you'd have one side where there'd be like 2 rows of ladder stitch for the entire part of the bag, and it would just look really silly. So that's 2 rows of herringbone, and that's going to be the width of the bag. And I'm actually going to build it this way, and then fold it up and over, which you'll see what I mean. Okay, so that's row number 1. That's row number 2. From here on in, I'm going to be building 1 row at a time. There's a lot of different people that talk about square stitch and how to do square stitch. Some people will call it ladder stitch, but it's not. Not the way I do it anyway. There's some really big differences between what I do and what people consider actual ladder stitch. So I'm going to show you my way of doing square stitch, which I find is a really good way. Many other videos I see, they have a slightly different method than mine, where they hook 1 bead on beside 1 bead, and you'll see in a minute how I loop mine through several, but they'll like loop through 1 bead and then they'll add the next one on and loop through 1 bead. The problem I find with that is that once they've looped through all of the beads all the way down to the bottom, they then have to reinforce by going through the whole row. What my method does is it reinforces as I go. There is no having to go back and reinforce a row. And in fact, each bead will end up having, I believe, about 4 stitches through it. So it is well reinforced. Now the other thing is, as I said, we have built 2 rows. Now we're going to be building just 1 row at a time. I started out with 2 rows because if I were to do proper square stitch, what I would have done was I would have put all of the beads of row 1 on, which would have all been loose beads, and then I would have had to square stitch all of each bead from row 2 onto it. What I find happens with that, and although it's doable, especially when you've got a stop bead, what I find happens with that though is it's really difficult to hang on to and control the beads. The beauty of square stitch is with this design is that it is completely symmetrical. So that is the very center of the bag. So everything from here down and here up they're the same mirrored image of each other. So what that means is I can either hold my my piece up and work from the top to the bottom, or each time, which is easier for me, is I always flip it where the bottom is towards me or the top is towards me. The other thing is that, so with this row now, I actually repeat row 1 here. So row 1 is 4 red, a yellow, red, white, red, yellow, etc. all the way up to the top. So I'm just simply going to repeat row 1 and attach it to row 2. When I put that one on, then the next row I'll follow is row 2 and build on that. So let me show you what that looks like. With square stitch, at the beginning of every single stitch, with square stitch, at the beginning of every single row, you will add 2 beads. After that, it will always be 1 bead. When you come to the beginning of the next row, you start with 2 beads. From there on in, it's 1 bead. All right, so let me just get a little bit closer in here so I can show you what this is going to look like, and I'll try to stay in frame. Okay, so the first row is 4 red beads. So here's what I'm going to do. And in fact, let me move this over to the red palette a little bit here, and hopefully you can see that. So what I'm going to do is we're starting at the beginning of a row, which means I have to pick up 2 beads. So we'll pick up 2 red beads. I'm going to put those down onto my thread and not worry about sliding them down. I'm coming out the bottom of this one. I want to go up 2 beads, so 1, 2. I want to put my needle in backwards to come out of the bottom bead again. So I'm going through those 2 beads right there. I'm going to pull. When I do that, the other 2 beads will start to sit beside. If I can just untangle my thread a little bit. There we go. So they will sit beside. It's coming out of the bottom here. I'm now going to go back up these 2 beads here. Just like that. And I'm going to pull. Now it's important to hold on to your beads when you do this, just so it stays tight. You want some good tension in there. There we go. So remember, I want 4 red beads here. Now, I've started my row with 2 beads. Now for the rest of the row, all the way to the end, I add 1 at a time. So I want to pick up another red bead. So I will pick up 1 red bead. So these 2 beads are sitting beside each other. These 2 beads are sitting beside each other. My next red has to sit beside this one, this red here. In order to do that, I have to go through that red bead. Now with normal, what people call square stitch, they would just go through that 1 bead. I don't. I anchor it to that one and 1 more bead below that. So I go into that bead and then also 1 more below. So I'm going through 2 beads and I'm going to pull. This is where I might need my pliers because sometimes you can get a little bit stuck. All right. Oops, I'll pull that out of my fingers, of course. There we go. So now I've got 3. Now, my thread is coming out. So remember, this bead here is the one I just added on to the one beside it, and I went down 1. So that means I have to come up 2. So when I add this on, I go down 2. That means I have to come up 2 as well. So I'm going to go up through the one below that one that I just added on as well as the one I've just added on. So those 2 beads. Okay, and let me show you that again. So I'm going to pull my thread. There we go. Pull it nice and tight. So I said the first row we're repeating, which has 4 red, so we'll pick up 1 more red. So the one row of red has to sit beside that green one, but I want to anchor it to the one below the green too. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go through the green one and the red one below the green. And this is a bit awkward for me because I am doing this on camera. So I want to go through those two there. And I might have to go to a thinner needle because I'm having a bit of a hard time going through those. And there we go. Get everything out of the way. All right, so I'm pulling down. So you see I'm coming out the bead below the green bead. So I went down 2, that means I have to go up 2 beads. See how that works? It's pretty easy. And see, I don't even need to look at my pattern anymore. All I need to do is now look at, excuse me, I need to look at the bead, the next bead up in the next row over, which is a yellow bead. So get my blue bead out of the way. I will now pick up a yellow bead and I will go down through the red bead as well as the green bead below it. So let me just try and do that. I'm try to stay in frame, but it's just a bit awkward with this positioning. Okay, there we go. Now, because this is herringbone, that might be why it's hard for me to get this through. And I'm using a thicker thread than I normally do too. But when I come back through on the next row, it should be a little bit easier. So it's that simple. It's that simple. Okay, so the next row over. So I'm always, whatever row I'm attaching to, I'm following the pattern of the row behind that. So I'm attaching to this second row, but I'm going to follow the pattern of the one behind it. All right, so the pattern says, I just put on yellow here, that means I need a red. So I'm going to do the red and I'm going to attach to that blue and the one below it. So I'm going down 2 beads and pull. And now I've got to go up 2 beads. So I'm going to go up the yellow and the red. It's very simple. And hopefully you've got it by now. I will do one more for you. So the next one is a white bead, because there is my next one and it's got to sit right in here. So I pick up the white bead and I'm going to go down through that red and through that blue as well. There we go. And pull. Went down 2, now I've got to go up 2. It couldn't be simpler. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get almost to the top of this row, and then I'll show you the start of the next row. Okay, see you in a bit.